So students, we continue with our topic on environmental management. The topics that we'll be dealing with today is the environment and its relationship to the ecosystem. Of course, most of this we have already discussed, just a run through it again. And then we will be taking up the need for environmental conservation, a very important topic in today's context. We'll be talking about the factors that affect the environment, both the natural factors and man made factors. Before we move on to the topic, there are a couple of concepts which you learnt last year, which I would like you to once again have a look at. So, students, let's have a look at what do you understand by a trophic level. A trophic level is a step at which an organism obtains its food in a food chain, or it is the position occupied by it in a food chain. I repeat once again, a trophic level. So this is a diagrammatic representation of a trophic level. A trophic level can be defined as a step at which an organism obtains its food in a food chain, or it is the position occupied by an organism in a food chain or a food web. In other words, we call it as the feeding level. From the diagram over here, you can see the diagrammatic representation of the trophic level. You have three levels over here. The producer is at the base of the unit of the trophic level. At the base, you have all producers or green plants. So producers include all green plants, even some blue-green photosynthetic algae, even some photosynthetic bacteria also come under the category of producers. So at the base of the trophic level you have producers, then feeding on the producers you have the herbivores which occupy the first trophic level. Above the herbivores you have the carnivores that feed on the herbivores occupying the second trophic level. Above the carnivores you have the omnivores occupying the third trophic level. So organisms at the third trophic level could feed on both carnivores as well as herbivores. Some of them even feed on producers. So students, you have seen this is what is understood by a trophic level. We now go on to understand what is the meaning of a food pyramid. The food pyramid is actually a diagrammatic representation of how energy transfer takes place in such a food chain, or how energy transfer takes place at every trophic level. That's what we are going to have at in the next diagram. So students, what you are seeing over here is a diagrammatic representation of an energy pyramid. Now, what is an energy pyramid? An energy pyramid basically is a diagrammatic representation showing how energy gets transferred from one trophic level to the other trophic level. The initial amount of energy you can see here keeps on decreasing as you move from one trophic level to the other trophic level. So this is, students, a diagrammatic representation of an energy pyramid in a food chain. Basically, an energy pyramid shows how transfer of energy takes place at every trophic level. The amount of energy keeps on decreasing at every trophic level, and so do the number of organisms also at every trophic level goes on decreasing. Now students, you can see here, this is a typical energy pyramid shown for an aquatic ecosystem. You can see at the base of the ecosystem, the energy pyramid, you have the phytoplanktons, which are the producers in an aquatic system. Let us say all of them together make up for around 10,000 calories, right? So all of them make up for 10,000 calories. When all these phytoplanktons are fed upon by zooplanktons, which are aquatic marine animals, only 10% of the energy trapped in the bodies of phytoplanktons gets transferred to all the zooplanktons. That is, only 1000 kilocalorie becomes available to the next trophic level. This is the first trophic level, second trophic level, third. When the zooplanktons are fed upon by the fish in a marine environment, then only again 10%, that is 100 calories, gets transferred into the body of the fish, and ultimately at the next trophic level, that is the humans, around 10 calorie gets transferred. So you can see how energy transfer is taking place, and such diagrammatic representation of transfer of energy in a food chain or an ecosystem is what we call as an energy pyramid. So students, will deal with some questions which are there on page 37 and 38, which we had not taken up earlier. So it will help you to answer the questions while doing your assignments. The first question is, what is an environment and what are the factors included in an environment? Now students, we had taken this up in the last two lectures also. Environment is a condition existing in the surrounding in which organisms dwell or live. I repeat, environment is a condition existing in the surrounding in which organisms dwell or live. An environment includes biotic and abiotic factors, right? So this is how you will answer the questions. All of you are aware, biotic factors are the living factors and abiotic factors are the non-living factors. The biotic factors include all life forms, plants, animals, microorganisms, etc. The abiotic factors include the air, sunlight, land, soil, nutrients, physical and chemical factors. Now, the next question is, what are the types of cycles operated in the environment? In fact, the question means, what are the types of biogeochemical cycles that are operated in the environment, and what are their importance? Students, this also question was learnt last year. This concept was covered. You learnt about the various biogeochemical cycles, the gaseous cycles, the sedimentary cycles in nature. To just make you to remind you of a few cycles that operate in environment, the biogeochemical cycles that operate in the environment are the oxygen cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the water cycle. So these are some of the very important biogeochemical cycles that occur in nature. You have the nutrient cycle also. Now, what is the importance of biogeochemical cycle? Students, natural resources are limited. So if they only keep on getting used up, ultimately a time will arrive when there will be a total depletion of all the components of atmosphere. All natural resources will get depleted, nutrients will get depleted, and there will be left nothing for survival of the future generation. So there is a very important need. Biogeochemical cycles play a very important role in the sustenance of life for future. Like for example, let us take the example of the water cycle. Water continuously gets evaporated from all water bodies like the river, lakes, the oceans. Continuously evaporation is taking place due to the heat energy falling on them from the sun. Now this water rises on top, it gets condensed and forms water vapors. These water vapors go up, they get condensed and they precipitate in various forms such as rain, snowfall, hailstones. In this manner, the water comes back to the earth. Just imagine what would have happened if only evaporation would take place and precipitation does not occur. Ultimately, the earth will get depleted of all the water that it has, and survival will become difficult, or there will be no chance for survival for the remaining organisms and species. So biogeochemical cycle forms a very important part in the sustainability of environment and life. So students, having learnt now what is environment, what does environment include, what are the various cycles that operate in environment. Now, before we come in to conservation of environment, today very important for us to understand what are the various factors that affect the environment. Now, factors, students, could include man-made factors, that is artificial factors, and natural factors. So let us have a look at some of the factors that affect environment, because learning of the factors that affect the environment will help us in understanding the methods to be adopted while we are conserving the environment. Conservation of environment is going to be a very important topic, especially students in today's context where the world is reeling under the effect of a huge pandemic. And all these, students, please understand, is human interference in environment, consequences of human interference in environment. So we'll take that up later, but before that, let us just understand some of the factors that are affecting the environment. So students, you can see here I have listed out some of the factors affecting the environment for better understanding. You have, as I told you, natural factors and man-made or artificial factors that are affecting the environment. You can see man-made factors are outnumbering the natural factors. So you can understand the seriousness of man-made effects on the environment. So let us look at the natural effects or the factors affecting the environment, natural factors affecting the environment. Some of the natural factors affecting the environment are earthquakes. Earthquakes, all of you know how it causes massive destruction to the environment and surroundings. Then you have floods. All of you have experienced floods in the recent times, the destruction caused by floods. Then tsunamis basically are caused by under ocean earthquakes which cause a rise in the water level. The sea waves jump up to a great height of more than around 100 feet or so or more. Then you have volcanic eruptions. All of you know what is volcanic eruption. We call them as Jwalamukhi in Hindi, right? So volcanic eruptions are there where a lot of dust and lava is thrown out together with toxic and poisonous gases. Then you have forest fires. Now students, forest fires mainly are a natural factor affecting the environment, but you'll have some type of forest fires which are a deliberate attempt to destroy forests to make way for urbanization. So those can also be classified as man-made. Now let us look at some of the artificial factors that are causing environment destruction or that are affecting the environment. So some of the man-made factors or artificial factors affecting the environment are deforestation, that is cutting down of forest for wood, for raw materials, for building, for construction. Then mining is an activity carried out to explore the minerals and natural resources in the surface or under the surface of the earth. Fishing, hunting, poaching. Poaching is again related to unauthorized hunting. Wherever hunting of wildlife is prohibited, you have activities of poaching, killing animals for their skin, for their nails, and to sell them in the black market. So that's poaching. Then you have industrialization. Industrialization causes a lot of pollution. Lot of industrial effluents are affecting the environment, water pollution, soil pollution, air pollution, which we will come up in the subsequent topics. So we will see how industrialization affects the environment. Then the other factor, man-made factor, is urbanization, building of cities to accommodate the ever-growing population. As population increases, vehicular pollution also increases, vehicles flying on the road, the trains, the aeroplanes that cause a lot of air pollution. All these are the factors that are affecting the environment. So students, now we have learnt about some of the factors that are affecting the environment. In our next topic, we will move on to see how environment can be conserved, what are the steps to be taken for conservation of environment. We will see how pollution takes place, what are the different types of pollution that takes place. So in our next discussion, we will discuss all those topics. Till then, thank you and take care.